Welcome to another episode of Board Game Coffee Inside Scoop. Now, last time we discussed the Teburu, you guys had a lot of questions. So to answer those questions, I've brought on Davide, CEO of Explored, the creators of the Teburu. Now, this episode, there's no chit-chat. This episode, it's all about the facts.
Vincent, get back here this instant! Oh.
Thank you. Oh, I love you too. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Davide, are you ready to answer some questions?
Yes.
All right, let's do this. Any chance of selling Teburu upgrade packs that we can use to upgrade our older games to the Teburu?
Okay, so we are evaluating the opportunity to make a, let's say, conversion kit in order to make it happen. Because technically can be done. It depends just the evaluation of which games have the right feeling, rule set, and features to benefit of the Teburu system, and vice versa. For us, the opportunity to make it real in terms of production capacity, but for sure technically can be done.
Does the system have to be plugged in while playing, or is there a chargeable battery? If there is a battery, how long does it last?
That's a good question. The system is today working with batteries on the dice, while the Teburu core, let's say the main board, is today plugged to the power source with a simple USB cable. That's the actual status. In the meanwhile, we are already engineering an upgraded version where both the Teburu board and the dice will be powered by rechargeable batteries, and most probably that will be the version that end consumers will get when we will produce and launch it on the shelf, but we will update the market soon.
How long will the batteries in the dice last?
Concerning the duration, should we keep the actual situation, the dice that we have here have, let's say, a classic button battery that lasts for something around 20,000 rolls. I prefer to measure not in time but in rolls, because for technology reason the dice goes sleep when it's not used, so the rolls consume, otherwise it's not consuming. And the goal is to keep anyway this number if we keep the battery as it is. While in case it's rechargeable, it can last a little bit less, but as you can guess, if it's thousands of rolls and dozens of game sessions for the board, I think it's anyway more than enough.
What's the minimum amount of smart devices I need to play a game with multiple people?
Let's say that the minimum set is to use one device with an app that can be used both as a master device and as a controller device if you play alone. So for each table, for each group of people you play with, then you need at least one device. So the correct and short reply is minimum one device per board, per table, more board, more devices.
How will the Teburu work for card games, or are you just going to skip those?
Let's say that cards that today we use in the board games are represented inside Teburu games as, let's say, images and interactive buttons in the app of your controller device. Vice versa, if we are speaking about card games, then I would say the Teburu could work also with card games, but is not the ideal console specific for card games, and that's the reason why in our lab we are working on other projects on top of Teburu, and we are already working, engineering and patenting a system that is specifically conceived for card games to be played and answered by software side and mainly in a remote play.
Can I use my smart TV as the primary screen?
Yes, in future. The first release is planned for mobile devices, so iOS and Android. Smart TV can be used, let's say, in mirror today. The Teburu app for desktop and for smart TV is anyway already planned as a future development stage for a second release of the, let's say, kit and the apps.
Will players have to download a separate app for each game that they play on the Teburu, or will there be one Teburu app that encompasses all titles on the Teburu? Or is this an online login situation?
Both. Let's say that each single game has its own app in order to play that kind of game for free on Teburu. But cross-game Teburu login will help the user to keep track of their own data and to keep, let's say, track of their settings, and also sometimes to create a cross-interaction between different games, especially if they are coming from the same world, the same IP or same universe. So if you play one game, then you can, even through a different app of a different game, maybe influence what happens in the second game. But that's almost another question.
Will this be coming to retail after Kickstarter?
Yes. Kickstarter is most probably the most effective way to give us the opportunity to create a game that is following also the user's request, and to give something really special, really exclusive to the early adopters, believing in the platform and understanding in the potential, so helping us in making the project real. On the other side, going to retail is important for us in order to have the install base growing and to give to anyone who could not have the opportunity to back it on time on Kickstarter, to get it and play it and benefit of all the game that will come later on.
Long story-driven campaigns seem perfect for the Teburu, but can we expect to see complex Euros on the Teburu?
Yes. I would say not a direct conversion of the actual Euros, but because they need some kind of redesign in order to work perfectly on Teburu, and not only as a constraint to work there, but also as an important opportunity to use the Teburu features at best. On the other side, we are really excited by the opportunity that is there, that is inside Teburu and in our mind, to conceive new way of playing thanks to Teburu, new way of playing board games. And we have different ideas already for new kind of Euro games that perfectly fits to all the features that the platform has.
Why call it the Teburu?
Teburu is the Japanese word for table. Our industry is today, let's say, tabletop market, and games are played on a table. That's why it's called this way. So what I would say is that as Teburu is the future table, most probably our goal is to make the Teburu top games in the future. This is just to make a long story short. Indeed, Teburu is an easy word that is pronounced equal almost in any language. And that is a good reason why even other big companies are using Japanese word for new brands. So both the meaning, the pronouns of the name, and the fact that the meaning is anyway around our business suggested this name and made us, let's say, approving it as the right name for our platform.
Will there be any way for independent designers to create their own games for the Teburu for prototype purposes?
Yes, for sure. This is anyway a later step that has to be that has to happen. First, a few games that will be launched together with the platform will be completely developed by our team. So from, let's say, the design to art to gameplay, everything is done here, physical and digital. This is because we want to keep, let's say, the quality under control. We need to consolidate all the system and so on. The second wave will be developed by a third party. So we are already discussing with external game publishers and developers the opportunity to get our already existing SDK in order to develop their own games with our support. And then let's say the step 3 will be in future the opportunity of giving this consumer phase SDK to independent developers willing to prototype and eventually release the games after having proposed them to us.
Will I be able to save game sessions from multiple games and then come back to them at any time I want?
Yes, for sure. And that gives me the opportunity to say that many times we who are working on the platform since more than 3 years don't speak about many benefits of the platform that for us are automatic, but they seems magic probably to who listen them for the first time. Each game app automatically saves not only each game session, but automatically each single action that you do. So that means that if you need for any reason to suddenly interrupt the game, you can come back and go on exactly from that action, even in the middle of the round of a single character of the gameplay session. So each single game has his own save game slots. That can be, of course, more than one, because maybe I want to play the same campaign with my family and with my friends. So I have different save slots, and then each save slot is automatically saved each single action.
How many games will be available at launch?
So today we are working on many games in parallel, some just to prototype new, let's say, gameplay kind and so on. Other ones are indeed the games that we are planning for the first release. The goal is to launch the platform with 3 games and then communicate the plan for the second wave of 5 games. And then it depends, let's say the wave 3, that will be in the year 3, will depend from the number of third parties that we, let's say, accept and that we find in order to enlarge the production capacity, not only to what we can do internally, but also due to what the partners can develop.
Are there any features planned that would allow streamers to play with their audience, a voting system to control opponent actions, etc.?
One of the first selling point, I would say, unique features of Teburu system is that you can play remotely with your friends. So if you and your friends have the Teburu console, you can share a gameplay session playing together. So I would say that on top of many other things that we could do, for example, we recently worked for Riot on a League of Legends interactive YouTube video where the users were controlling the characters and so on, giving comments. And we know many technologies that can support this kind of interaction between streamers and audience. But I would say that here, in a simple way, we go even further. So you, in Board Game Coffee, can play a remote session with your audience, with some guys selected from your audience. And then we can even think something like who plays with you that night gets a reward immediately without the need of physical shipments and so on, and deliveries. But maybe inside the game they get a reward like a Board Game Coffee baseball hat or a t-shirt to customize their character digitally in the game. So it's really the limit is just the sky. We can think many opportunities to engage and involve the audience from one side, and also to engage and involve the streamers on the other side, starting from the simple fact they can be connected and play together.
Does the data get stored on the Mini's base? If so, how is it used?
Yes, the data is stored, but not in the Mini's base. So I tell you why. As you know, there are plenty of smart toys and so on stating they save the data inside the chip that is, in this case, for example, in the counter base of the character. It can be done. Our chip of the RFID tags have memory, you can save there. Problem is that we know patents. And we know that if one day Activision, in this case, wake up, they could tell to many companies today using the technology to save data inside an RFID tag of an action figure or a miniature. They can say, hello, good guys, now you have to give us some money, because it's a patent they have registered some time ago. So we studied many patents existing in this field. So we save the data, but we use a different system. Your unique ID inside the miniature makes your ID exactly unique. So we recognize that you, as a Teburu account, are using that specific miniatures, and we save the data of the miniatures through our servers, and then we encrypt them, and so on. So I would say that to the users, the effect is the same. This miniature is my miniature. Your miniature with the same character and same colors is yours. So the data saved on this miniature of mine is different from the same miniatures that you have, name, save data, skills, statistics, but the system is not, let's say, a direct save inside the chip.
That was a much more interesting answer than I thought it was going to be. Can we expect to see games like Monopoly or other classics like that on the Teburu?
That's the future of the platform. That question was exactly something that I've been asked from Hasbro the first time they saw the platform. So the opportunity of using Teburu from very complex game with tons of rules hidden to the users to make his life easier is, let's say, one thing. But on the other side, we can go down to or up to the simplest game ever, to the most classic game ever, that can work on Teburu with enhanced features. For me, the right reply is anyway, why? So this question gives me the opportunity to make a longer reply a bit. That is, I feel myself and my company different from many startups that have a technology, maybe a patent, and they want to put a game on top of a technology in order to have their stock value rising up to sell the company after 5 years. That's not our approach. We start from the user experience, and if a game like Monopoly, just to make your example, benefit of being on Teburu, if the users feel the advantage of playing Monopoly on Teburu and not just the classic version, then it deserves to be there. Then we have a reason why. We give an added value to the game experience. If there's not an added value, of course, we are not here to push every game to be on Teburu because we want to do business. That's not the right approach, in my opinion.
All right, now we saved the biggest, most in-depth question for last. Tell us about the tech you're using in the Teburu.
You're right. It's a deep and long question. I try to make, let's say, a quick introduction, and then we can go in detail of each piece. First of all, the fact that we are doing the question is because the technology is hidden, and that's our approach. The product has to cost a reasonable amount of money for the value that we give, and the technology has to be hidden. In general, what the technology does is the platform identify each single miniature, as I told before, and then track its position on the board. So to give the opportunity to the players to see something happening whenever they move in a certain place, in a certain cell, in a certain room. And then there are the dice that are connected to the same system. So you roll the dice wherever you like physically, and the app knows which results have been done and do all the calculation based on the place where you are, the special rules, your skills, and so on, and gives you the consequence of it inside the app. So that's how it works and what it allows you to do. In depth, we have, let's say, various pieces. So Teburu board is this one. It's a foldable mat in cardboard. And what's inside is, as you can see, it's very thin. It's even not the final one. And inside the two cardboard, there's a, let's say, sort of sandwich. And in the middle one, there's a printed circuits with sensors. And all these sensors then goes to the core. That is this part, a small black one, where you plug the power source, and tomorrow the rechargeable battery is inside. You tune it on, and then it automatically gives, let's say, to the whole system the power. So the core gets all the data from the sensor, and through Bluetooth, so wireless, it transmits all the data that it gets from the board. So who is where, to the app. the device. Second piece is the miniature. So the miniature is a classic plastic miniature, just with a little bit thicker counterbase, even if it's not needed so thick. Where inside we have both an RFID tag and a magnet, and this will help to match our two technologies, so it's recognized and then tracked on the board. And last but not least is the dice, and the dice are, let's say, the classic dice, classic size, as you can see. And inside the die, what we have is let's say a chip that we designed, a PCB that we designed, where on top of having the batteries and so on, and there are sensors like accelerometers, gyro, and so on that identify when the die, first of all, is awake, because now it's sleeping, so I have to wake it up when the app is running. And then when I wake it up, there are a lot of settings that you can customize. Let's say that the dice, when it's waking up, starting to consume a little bit more. And then it reads all the movement that it does until the moment when it feels itself, let's say itself, stopping on any surface, okay? When it stops, it reads automatically the results that we have on the top side, on the top face. These are the three key elements. Of course, there's the third one, that is the network that manage everything. So we have our own software and SDK that is managing all the information given from the board and from the dice into the app, that is interpreting the information based on the rule system, on the situation of the game, the point where you are, and so on, and gives, as in any video game or mobile app, it gives you all the information that you need to continue to play. So it tells you if you move, where you have, which room you have discovered, and what happens there. When you roll the dice, is the app calculating the result and telling to you how many damages you did, or if you succeeded or not in a specific action, and so on. And our network allows, as I told before, to have just one device connected to the board, or one device like a big tablet to work as a master device, so telling the story and telling what's happening, automatically connected with the other devices like smartphones that you can use, each single player can use as a personal dashboard for the character. So the system automatically allowed the players to play as soon as the first device is connected, and they can use that device as master and personal, passing it around turn by turn. But if you want to add devices, it automatically even split the characters to the number of devices that you connect to the system before starting to play, before clicking the start button. Then another layer is all what is in backend. So the server side, that is what you don't need to play, because what we, as board gamers, we wanted people to be able to play even offline. If you are in a cabin in the woods, you want to play even without any internet connection. But if you want to log in with your account and save all your data, eventually after the session, you need to, let's say, to save your data and so on, you need to connect to the network. So we have our servers and all the system managing all the accounts and tracking all the data in order to give them the save game back to the users, or let's say all the features that are linked to your account. And last point is the fact that everything is from the consumer side is what they don't see but they benefit, but on the other side there are the third-party developers that are getting the SDK that is, let's say, a software development kit that is not only software because they get also some Teburu kit to prototype their games on. And they use our technology that allows us in an easier way to implement their idea of game and their software side and their hardware through the SDK to create a Teburu game by themselves. This is just at the beginning, but it's another layer of technology that will be, let's say, released officially and publicly in the next few years. I don't know if I replied to everything.
I think you got a lot of it. That was good. I'm pretty sure you answered the questions. Like, tell us about your tech was kind of like encompassing a bunch of little questions, like how do the dice work? How do the boards work? So that was just kind of like summing it all to one. So I think you did a great job. Now, thanks Davida for joining us today on this FAQ. I hope that our audience found this informative because I know you guys had a lot of questions. So Davida is the man with the answers, and Board Game Coffee are the people to bring them to you. So that said, I'm looking forward to Mall Madness on the Teburu. That's the game from the 80s where the girls shop at the mall. Or those dating games where you have to call the boys. All those cheesy games from the 80s. I'm gonna see if I can get a petition, and we'll get some money together so you guys can be developing Mall Madness for the Teburu. Okay,
we are prototyping crazy things, not so crazy, but maybe we need the still to level up.
Okay, great. Thanks, Davida, for joining us.
Thanks to you, Mark.
Everybody.
Feel free to do it again whenever your audience wants to ask more things. We are here.
Oh. All right, yeah, if you guys have any more questions, we will do a part 2 to this FAQ. Now, you guys came up with a lot. Like, when I was thinking of putting this video together, I was like, I have 2 questions. And then tons of them came in. So, good job, guys. Good job. So, that is all. Okay, see you guys next week.
Thank you, Mark. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you like this video and you want to see more, subscribe to our channel. It's the best way to keep up to date with everything we do here at Board Game Coffee. But if you want to see more right now, we got plenty of videos to choose from. And if that's not enough, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm Mark Maya, and this is Board Game Coffee. And remember, have fun, keep gaming, be social. See you next week.